go?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so we have Jack King talk to us about the new features in Tableau 2.2, or 10.2, sorry. And also let him tell his story about his scare today with 10.3, where he got to 10.3. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jack King.
What's up, gang? I just stuck as many gummies as I could in my mouth. It was awesome. If you haven't gotten on the Ninja Turtle gummy snacks, highly advise it. So, I'm going to talk about 10.2 updates. I had a little scare last night. Finished my presentation, put the last little touches, little links and slides and things. And I was closing Tableau down, and it's like, downloading latest update. And I'm like, don't you dare, don't you do it. Because I'm a 10.3 beta tester. So I was like, there's no way they've already released 10.3, thus invalidating this entire presentation. 10.2.1. So, thankfully, crisis averted. Who am I? My name is Jack King. I'm a systems administrator, former systems administrator at the University of Kentucky. I now consider myself a data journalist, so I spend all of my time crunching public data with Tableau and finding cool things to viz for my blog, Bourbon and Brains. So, I'm about public data. If it can be scraped or it's available for anything, I'm gonna have it. I download stuff constantly. It's my other vice aside from bourbon. So let's talk about it. Alex asked me to present, and I was like, do I really have a plan? But the big parts. One of my favorite things in 10.2, the mapping functionality. So if you are familiar, if you know any sort of cartographical people, use that word today. Esri is the software that almost all map makers are into. That and saving the GeoJSON data files, both of which are supported, which took me a little bit to understand the depth of this. Big thing is, there's so many people out there that are doing data that are bound to maps and bound to shape files that we just didn't have access to previously. So now all that data can be loaded into Tableau. The other exciting thing for me is KML files. If you're not familiar, these are Google Earth files, are now supported. So, and I can show you what that means here in a minute. You can literally draw a shape on Google Earth and export it, a custom shape, whatever. Say you want to be like, I'm gonna do a custom set of points for all bourbon distilleries or all warehouse districts, right? Things that you can individually lay out, right? Like an area of town. Like when you were talking about Louisville, Stan, earlier, you were talking about Louisville, and you're saying, oh, this is old Louisville. You can circle that and say, this area now, all these dots fall into old Louisville, and that is now a data point that you can import into Tableau. Super exciting. I'll show you. The other favorite part, unions can now go across data source types. So you can now do unions across from, say, like SQL to Oracle internally, which is pretty rad. Rather than having to do like a join in Tableau, the unions can go across, which is pretty rad. Date parse is what I call auto magic now. You just say, this is a date and not just a string. And I've done it about maybe about a dozen times now with different data sets, and I only had one time where it didn't pick it up and where I actually had to write a date parse function to give it the date. And my favorite thing in this slide is join calculations, and I'll actually show you an example of that as well. So now, if you have data sets, so for me, one of the big things I always had in a data set, I have a data set, I have a CSV file that is state abbreviations, state full names, right? So if I have two data sources I'm trying to join, that one has, you know, WV and VA, and, you know, I can join that with another one that's using full state names, right? But I did that so frequently that I made a CSV file for it but now, super easy. Now you can do string manipulations and things like that, all before, like, as a part of the data join. You can see that too. So let's do a lot. Just realized I'm gonna have to click these over here. So some of this data I got, just so I can pull it up like this. Yeah, cool. So this is Lexington traffic cameras. Again, so this is a JSON file. The original one I got was a GeoJSON. Pull this up. So this is live feed for Lexington traffic cameras, right? So you can pull up and see, well, what's the traffic info. So, but this data wasn't, JSON came around in, I think, 10.1. GeoJSON is now in 10.2. Like I said, the original version of this was in GeoJSON. Lost my mouse. So let's get deeper. So bluegrass trust flags. Okay. So this is the original data. This comes from actually one of UK's new majors. That's like New Maps or something. It's part of their
Mapping GIS.
Yes, there you go. Michelle would know. So this actually comes out of their GitHub page, and I was like, wow, that's cool. I can totally either download it as a KML or GeoJSON now to get these data points. And luckily, they have, so, you know, here's what it is, right? So I was like, cool, I can do more with that. So you can take that, and so, gross formatting. Wow, that didn't redraw the way it should. Anyway, so this is the same data layout, right? Except I wanted to do analysis. I wanted to say, where are the bluegrass trust plaques at? So I stripped out street name so that we can see sort of a density, right? Because there's some place, and then it's also, you can look at it this way too, like there's some places you say, oh wow, there's a lot, it's hard to see, so right, like Constitution, but it really isn't that many. But they're all like right there. And then I built this so you can, I don't know if this is gonna work. Okay, well, that one isn't working. I have it right, so you can right click out and actually take it to a Google Map street view image of those particular places, because I thought, well, you know, they all look historic. Unfortunately, you can't, I found that you can't integrate almost any sort of Google search web part into Tableau, public anyway. It works just great in desktop, not work in public. So, anyway, so this is an example of GeoJSON data that you can take, parse out in a different way than they're already presenting it, get a little more sort of depth in the data. Also, because this is formatted weird, you can't see it. I overlaid the integrated mapping data in Tableau to show median ages of structures, but these all kind of fall into the same downtown region, so it didn't really matter much. Okay, so let's get into some of the other stuff. So, national parks. So, national park boundaries. So this, I pull down their shapefile, and I pull down, this is an example of one of the reports. I did a batch pull down of all the reports. So of all the visitation by years. So what you can end up doing with that, on screen, is so I did a little story, sort of the evolution of maps in Tableau. So first you've got sort of your just basic state dots. For sort of, this is the number of number of visitors, average visitors per year in state parks in those states. Then the GPS locations, of course, you can get that all kinds of different ways. But what I got out of the shape files is the actual shapes of the parks, right? So this is the business, right? In 10.2, I can actually apply these shape files to the places that they actually are. I don't have to like custom craft an XY coordinate access in Tableau and like figure it out. No, you just throw a shape file in there and assign it, and that shape file has data in it, and you can just so that here's average visitors by actual park, and then further than that, we can highlight and do some measure differences by years in operation, total number of visitors. Had no idea that the Golden Gate National Recreation Center was the highest visitation for national parks. Who knew? So the neat part about this, though, is the way. So this data this particular viz not only uses the shapefile function that's new. So those Esri files, you can use shapefiles, you can use the KMLs. If you see KMZ files that are Google Earth files, if you change that extension from KMZ to .zip, it just becomes a zip file, and you can pull the KML file out of it. The more you know. So let me show you how this data is built. So let's do dot maps. That'll render fast. So if we edit the data source, so I've got my shapes, right? And I've got my National Park Visitor CSV that I created from scraping that data. But the problem was, I didn't have a joining field for both. Now in scrape URL, if I expand scrape URL out, you can see the last little bit. This is going to be the last little bit of scrape URL. Let's do this. Well, it's just going to be ugly, so let's just mouse over. So, but if you notice the last 4 in the URL for the scrape, that's the park code. You know what's in that shape file? Park code. So, I could take this into Excel, right? And I could hash it out in Excel and do whatever. But come on, gross. Who wants to do anything in Excel when you can do it in Tableau? So now I literally have a join calculation whenever it wants to come up. Can I edit this? Oh, it's come up over here. Done. Sorry, 2 screens. So in a join calculation, I'm just saying join unit code, which is their park code name, to a right scrape URL to the last 4, right? So you don't have to edit in Excel. You can do your string manipulation in the join fields, right? So much better, right? So now I've got all this. Now I've got this data, and I've got it all in the format that I want it. All this awesome stuff. So that's that to me is one of my favorite parts of all this. So now, what can you do with it? I can tell everybody's really quiet because your minds are blown right now. CSV exports of prepped data. Like, instead of having to go in and pull it all up and do a huge, ugly copy paste into Excel or whatever you were using, you can do a straight CSV export, yes God, out of Tableau to get right into the data. So, I'm losing my mouse again. All right, so again, now that I've got all this data, export data to CSV. It's just, so now, like, I spend quite a bit of time prepping data, like editing